Okay, welcome back to Kick and Crochet. Today I've got a bag of goodies. So I see ads all the time for Hobbii yarns, and I have never actually purchased or used Hobbii yarns before. So I thought I would give them a try. So let's see. They have these really just beautiful yarn cakes. So this one is Sultan Deluxe 100% cotton, 1,000 meters. I mean, that's a whole shawl right there, right? You only need one, and it's got this beautiful gradient. 250 grams. So this one is super pretty. All right, and this one, Cotton Kings Sultan. I just love that colorway, isn't that so pretty? I don't remember what the name of the colorway is. Just says color 1 on it, so that's not descriptive at all, but it's super pretty. So this one is Sultan and this one is Sultan Deluxe, and they're a little bit different. They're both 100% cotton, and they're about the same weight. So this one's 200 grams and 800 meters, 250 grams and 1,000 meters, so similar, but the construction of the yarn is substantially different. So I'm not sure if I can find the end. Oh, that's cute! They have a little easy start tab. That's so nice. Okay, so this is the Sultan Deluxe. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's just kind of like a regular feeling, I guess about fingering weight, maybe a little bit less than fingering. And this is the regular Sultan, and it is really different. It also has an easy start tab, so that's nice, although it's pulling a little bit here. Alright, but this one is really weird because it's not actually spun together. It's in 4 separate strands, so that is totally different. And I can see that being a little bit beastly to use, so I'm curious to try this out and see how it goes. They did suggest on their website putting the yarn strands all together through like a bead to keep them together while you're working. So I will try that out and we will see how it goes. This one has a knot in it right now. Okay, so I see them having sales all the time, just posting on Facebook. So I got these ones on a pretty good discount. I think I paid like $8 or $9 each. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. Okay, so I got a bunch of this Sultan just because I loved these colorways. This beautiful gray going into like a mauve-y purple. Super pretty. This one's like mocha. This one is actually not the Sultan. This one's called Dahlia, and I, for the life of me, could not figure out what the difference between Dahlia and Sultan was. They're both 200 grams, 800 meters, 100% cotton in 4-ply strands, so I don't know if it's just how the colorway works out, but I mean, they look really similar to me, so I really don't know what the difference between these two is. I don't know. They're both pretty. That's all I know. Okay, and then one more Sultan. I actually got 2 of these. Just super pretty blue gradient color. They have lots of different gradients, so that's super nice. They're all just super pretty and reasonably priced. Also, it's an international company, so I was a little bit worried about having to pay customs. I didn't have to pay any customs, and shipping was relatively quick, so if you're worried about that, you don't have to worry about that. Okay. In addition to those, I also tried out their cotton yarn. They have, so they don't use like regular yarn weight labels. Like they don't call this lace or fingering or whatever, and they don't call this worsted, they call it 8/8 cotton. I don't know if that's like a normal thing internationally, but it's about the same weight as a worsted weight. And they also have a 4/8/4 or 4/8, I don't remember, which is about like a fingering or sock weight in this cotton. And so they call it rainbow. They've got a ton of different colors, and so I've heard that it's pretty soft. I haven't actually opened this pack yet, but I'm excited to try this one out. I love their colors. Okay, so let's, I'm going to switch my camera and we'll try them out and see how they go. I also forgot to mention they sent me this cute little knitting gauge ruler, so that's fun, and a little candy. Surprise! I love little surprises, they're always so fun. Okay, so here again I've got this Cotton Kings Sultan. And honestly, they have so many things that are like 4-ply cotton that I think it's a little bit bizarre and a little bit hard to tell what's going on. Okay, so I don't know why, but when I pulled this one out, it created this giant tangle, and I can see that this yarn would be just a beast to untangle if it got bad because of the loose 4-ply construction. So let me grab some scissors. Oh, let go. Okay. Cut off this little tag. Alright, and just for funsies, I'm going to try and use this without putting it through a bead or anything first, just to see what it's like. So I grabbed a size F hook because I think this is probably about fingering weight. Oh yeah. This is going to take some getting used to because it is awfully splitty. But it's actually not as bad as I thought it would be to work with, which is nice because it's hard to find a good gradient yarn. Alright, so I'm just going to do some double crochets here to see how it goes. Yeah, depending on the stitch you're doing, it could be a challenge to make sure you get all 4 loops. Like when I enter the stitch, to make sure I go through all 4 loops and not split it. It gives it really an interesting look because of how loose that ply is. I kind of like it, but it's definitely different. It is not like any yarn I've ever worked with before. And so I think you could get away with not adding a bead to it, but I'm going to take this apart here in a second and then try it again with the bead and just see if that makes it easier or different, or if it really makes any difference at all. I could see if I was to cut this yarn and leave it for another project or something, I would probably want to tape the ends or something just to make sure they stay together. So yeah, I mean, it feels like cotton. It is just 100% cotton, so that just feels normal. In the double crochet, it's got a very loose texture with this size F hook, so I think it would be great for lacy things. I think it would be, just the gradient alone is nice for shawls. I think it would be super fun. Okay, one interesting thing about this yarn though, because it does have the 4 separate strands, that's how they can make the color change so gradual. So they can change the color on one of the 4 strands first, and then later change the color on the second of 4 strands. So like in here, you can see that 3 of the strands are tan, and 1 of the strands is that pale teal color, and so it's going to make it appear to change colors really gradually when really it's just changing a quarter of the color suddenly and then another quarter of the color. So I think that is super interesting and different, and that is, I guess, an advantage of using 4 separate strands. Okay, so I took that off. Let me see if I have a bead the right size. I bought all these beads and then the container got all shaken, whatever, and they got all sorts of tangled. So I'm not sure if I have a bead the right size to go for all 4. Yeah, I bought these beads for a crochet necklace. Okay, there we go. So this is not like a regular seed bead size. It's a little bit bigger. I don't remember a seed. Okay, I think it's a 8mm bead. So that, I wouldn't go any smaller. It was hard enough to get that strung on there. Of course, you could use a bead threader, and that would make it easier, but who wants to have to get a bead threader? Okay, so now I've got my 4 strands on a bead, and I have a feeling this is just going to be more annoying than worthwhile, but we'll see. Yeah, because now I just need to keep moving the bead back. So, I mean, I guess it's good advice. If you're really having problems with the strands coming apart, you could do that, but I don't think it's necessary. Actually working with the yarn, it feels exactly the same, whether it went through the bead first or not. If you're a tight crocheter, I think that this yarn could be troublesome for you just because of the 4-ply nature of the loose ply. Just to make sure you're not splitting the strands. But if you're not a super tight crocheter, I think it's just fine, and it could make awesome stuff. So if you're into cotton and you like gradients and you like not having to switch balls of yarn for a relatively large project, because 800 meters is pretty generous, or if you got the deluxe, then 1,000 meters, that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to stop with this one for now. I'm really excited to try this one out and see how it looks with the color changes later. My assessment is the bead is unnecessary, so do what you will, but not worth it to me. Okay, the other one I wanted to try was just their regular rainbow cotton yarn. So these ones are not gradient, although they have enough colors that you could make your own gradient if you wanted to. Let me open this bag up, grab one of these colors. It feels pretty soft, but it feels basically just like a cotton yarn, like Lily Sugar and Cream or like a Handicrafter cotton. It's got a very similar feel to it. Okay. Also has a nice handy starting tab, so that is cool. I like that for a center pull. I usually don't really like working with cotton all that much, well, plain cotton, because I find that it is tougher and so it strains my hands a little bit more, but I wanted to give these a try. Obviously for washcloths, dishcloths, they're ideal. So I wanted to try this new brand. Again, I'm just going to do some double crochets, get a feel for how it works, how it looks. Oh, why am I using a size F crochet hook with this? I don't know. Just because it's what I had in my hand, so it's going to be a little tighter than I would normally do. I would normally use probably an H or a G or an I, depending on what project I was doing, to go with a worsted weight yarn. So far, I like it. It works up easily. It looks very pretty. It's got good stitch definition. Somehow it seems like the individual strands seem to stand out more than with like a Lily Sugar and Cream or a Handicrafter cotton. And I think those ones have fewer strands, so this one, I think each yarn strand is made out of 8, so it's 8 ply, which I guess is where the 8/8 comes from. And so, oops, I'm holding it too close, I can't see. And so it's got a really pretty look to it. I actually really like that. I wish I had some Sugar and Cream handy. Oh, actually I do. I will grab it in just a sec so you can compare how it looks. Okay, I really actually am liking this yarn a lot. My favorite go-to cottons are like a Pima cotton, but they're way more expensive. So if it's just like a regular kitchen item that I'm making, I'm not going to want to pay for that. But this yarn, it's working up nicely, it's not straining my hands, and I actually really love the look of it. So it's got kind of that neat stitch definition. Okay, so in comparison, here's some Lily Sugar and Cream, and it is, I don't even know the right word for it, but it's like less refined. So it's got 4 strands, I think. Yeah, so the Lily Sugar and Cream is made out of 4 thicker strands, whereas the Hobbii Rainbow is made out of 8 thinner strands. So you can kind of see the difference. The Sugar and Cream is fuzzier, and it doesn't have the same look to it. So of these two, I actually really prefer the Rainbow quite a bit. Even though the Sugar and Cream is super easy to find in the US and available everywhere, I'm a fan of those. Okay, so this one, I forgot to say, this is 50 grams and 75 meters, or 82 yards. To compare, the Lily Sugar and Cream is 70.9 grams and 109 meters, so that's comparable, so they're about the same weight. So that is Hobbii Rainbow yarn. I'm super excited. If you've got any awesome ideas for what I can do with this beautiful green and blue gradient yarn, hit me up in the comments because I'd love to hear what you think I should make. Happy crocheting!